Hi, everyone. Welcome back again to another Iconis podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. As you know, I'm one of your hosts. I am Barry 3D for Deep Dark Delicious. Hey. And as always, I'm joined by the man, the myth, the legend, my cousin, who?
DJ Rod C. Yeah.
Hit it. So once again, we're glad to be back. You know, Rod came up with this idea, and I was like all on board for it. Like, how could I, of all people, miss it? So, Rod, good shout out to you on this one.
It's only a matter of time. It wasn't a miss. It was only a matter of time.
We're getting close. We're scratching the surface. So, you know, before we get right into it, we're going to give a couple of shout outs. So, one, you know, definitely thank you, Jaybird Digital Arts. Thank you for, you know, all the graphics and making us look pretty on the screen. So if you need any kind of digital work, graphic work kind of done, be it from signs to logos, reach out to Jaybird, you know, my man Jay at jaybird.digital.com. You'll see his contacts at the end of the video. So definitely give him a shout. Let him know that you've heard about him here on the Iconis podcast. You know, tell him we said hi. Check him out. That's for sure. You know, I want to say also my man Jimmy English, another comedian, very funny gentleman. He has his podcast called Back to the Balcony. He covers movies from 1980 and prior. A comedic look, insightful look, a lot of history, a lot of laughs. I've been on there a couple of episodes, so look for the microphone, the black microphone on the red background for Back to the Balcony. His podcast has now hit a season 2, so this is awesome. I've been on there like about 6-7 times. You know, if you're not sure, you can check out my website, barry3d.com. So BARRY 3d.com. Go to my blog, go through my blog. You'll see all the stuff that we've posted here with Iconis, all the other stuff I've joined. So the people I've talked about so far, you can find links to all their stuff. Another group I'm a part of is Touch of Gray. So my comedy brother is on a Touch of Gray comedy. That's Thomas Patrice, that's Zulf Ali, and the man himself, Mr. Dave Sokolowski, A Ton of Fun Entertainment. Want to find them all there. We have YouTube videos. We got like almost 80 videos on that channel, you know, covering everything from politics-ish, you know, to just things we see in the news, from the absurd to the serious. We put our own little spin on it. So definitely give that a like, follow it. And if you want to see all that on the Iconis podcast YouTube page where you see these videos, if you go down to the featured videos, you'd find links to all those other places to hit and check out. So please definitely go ahead and do that. And shout out to a couple of friends out there that have really been following, right? So, you know, one, my brother, Brian, thank you. My cousin Kevin, thank you very much. You know, everyone that joined the page just recently, oh my God, it's so overwhelming. My buddy John Rimple, thank you very much. You know, and my buddy Michael, this is like a elementary school friend, and this helped get us back in touch with each other and started kind of talking about all this stuff again. So awesome. I can't express that enough. So we all know we're in reruns, nothing going on. But enough from my voice.
Yes.
Where can we find you, and what are you up to?
Wow, enough. Definitely you can find me all over. You know, gotta make it sound like that. But definitely you can definitely find me on Facebook. I got on my Facebook page, DJ Rod C, so you can find me there. You can find me on Instagram, Mr. Rod C, so MRRODC. You can definitely find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/DJ Rod C. Definitely you can find me on there. Definitely have I play like 2 shows every week, Monday evenings at 5:30 Eastern Standard Time, and Wednesday PM Eastern Standard Time. I'm trying to make sure I got to say the Eastern, because in case where everybody's watching, be like 9 o'clock my time, maybe I was saying, no, son, it's not that time yet, son. Come on, not yet, son. You must wait, my son. So I'm gonna just let you know it's Eastern Standard Time. That's gonna be able to find me. I play open format. I play a whole bunch of stuff: soca, R&B, hip hop, reggae, house, disco, you know, whatever the vibe takes me, you know, whatever that musical journey goes in, you buckle in, we're going. Listen, I'm here to have fun. Make sure you guys are swinging your feet, having your fun as you have your evening tea or your extra hard big mouth juice, whatever you have in your hand. You know, I'm here to support you and back you up as you take a little something down. It clear up your throat. But I'm just saying that. Clear up your throat, them. So that's it. But yeah, Listen, talking about flashbacks and rollbacks and happy backs and all that kind of back talk. Did I?
What? Huh?
I don't know where I was going. I lost it. You said something about back before. I was trying to like
Oh, okay, all right.
segue, and then I just lost that.
Oh, okay. Well, hell on. So before we start, man, one last shout out. I keep forgetting. Oh my gosh, sorry. My buddy Paul Ash in Montreal. So Paul Ash, very funny comedian, has Battlecom. He has They Talk Funny, and he has The Love Doctor, another funny show he does. So he does like 3 different shows, you know, in one time. So the Battlecom is a nerd contest show with live vote-ins and live audience participation. Check him out. I'm on there once again. Check the blog. You'll see all that stuff. We're going to make sure I'm going to add Rod's contacts onto, you know, our YouTube page and our Iconis page so you can find him. So sometimes it's not about comic books. You just want to have a vibe and groove. So let me ask you a question, Rod. Have you played my jam yet when you've been mixing? Have you played my jam yet?
You know what? I have. Technically, I was here humming background until you said Love Doctor, and I just going with the theme of Love Boat. The Love Doctor.
I know we haven't got to the comics yet because everyone knows it's one jam. There's one song, no matter what I'm doing. If this song come on, people can't touch the radio. If this song come on, let me tell you, if I was having mid-stroke and this song come on, it would bring me back to dance one more time. Let me tell you right now. This I always tell Rod, you got to play this song. If you see me walk through the door, he's gonna say, Barry, how was my set tonight? And I'm like, you didn't play my song, so your set sucked. I mean, I can say that. I'm his cousin, right? That's just love thing.
He has plural, because either he's walking in lane and he missed it, but I will digress and say he has. But it's okay. We're family. I take the joke in my windpipe for that because. I didn't play it and held on to it until he came in. But yeah, there you go. Sorry.
No. See, so that's what I'm saying. So if you don't play Saturday Love by Alexander O'Neill and Sherelle, you don't know. Right? I'm a fast-paced, upbeat person, and this seems to be a more mellow song. When you put that song on, let me show you how 2 worlds mesh. Wow. All right, now back to business. Talking about worlds meshing. We have come across this property. As you've read in the name, if you read the name, okay, fine. If you're watching it right now, you're seeing it, you didn't pay attention to the name. We are merging worlds. We are going back and going forward. We are out and we are here. You hear me? Rod, you brought this to me. What are we talking about today?
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to discuss about SilverHawks. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We didn't even plan that. That's just a theme. We're talking about SilverHawks. Right? Now, there was 3 properties, and they all seem to be brought down as a trilogy to a certain degree. So now we go really test your memories. So first, there was Thundercats. Oh! Right. Followed by now Thundercats, very successful series, very successful. Had its reboots. Some were okay, and some were awesome, and they cut it too early. Shame on you, studios, just because they did the toy sales. But cool. And they said, well, we covered the land and cats. What can we do to capitalize on this? And they go, got it, birds.
Let's go in the air, people. Let's fly about.
Exactly. So there was Thundercats, then there was SilverHawks, which we're talking about today, and then they had their other property, which was lesser known and only went for a couple of episodes, which was Tiger Sharks.
Into the water, look out for the tiger shark.
Right? Less popular. Still liked it. Same concept. Sometimes it made sense. Sometimes it didn't. But hey, that's what Saturday morning cartoons were about, or Sunday morning cartoons, depending where it came on. So SilverHawks. Rod, what do you remember about SilverHawks?
Let's see. What I remember about SilverHawks is they were, in a sense, they were like an elite team. They were basically 5 individuals, as you can see behind us. And what they were was basically, they were like the force of good. If you're going to break it down to the terms of a child who had a bowl of cereal, eating his Cheerios, or eating his Captain Crunch, or eating whatever he may have had in the cupboard that his mom didn't throw up because, you're not supposed to eat sweets. So if you get to it, whatever you eat it as quick as possible. This was a force of good who were basically my basic understanding at the time is like police officers of the galaxy out in space taking care of all those wonderful people who need some type of help. SilverHawks are there. SilverHawks are there. And that was it. So yeah, no, seriously, that was it. I mean, I remember a lot of great stuff. I mean, like you said, there's episodes you can remember that were good, and some that you probably was at the back of your mind of like saying, "Trap in the door, never let out. Lock the doors." But other ones, come in, my child. Come in. Come. Sit here. Have some
Sit down.
food.
We eat off the China today.
Eh.
Hey, why you must say so? Why must you do me like that?
But
Oh
yeah,
my
I
gosh.
mean, it was a great different mixture, because there were, again, you can understand in the sense they're making the properties that you have different type of characters, and
Yes.
each character had their significant, power that made them think like, okay, oh, I like when this person does that. Oh, I like when the twins I like that. You know what I mean? So we'll get into that. But it definitely, was a child, you get the broad stroke of the pen, not even say the pen, of the paintbrush. You got different type of emotion, different type of action coming off of it. So that's one of the things I do remember about the show.
Yeah. I agree with you. So here it is. So was I into SilverHawks? Yeah, because I was in the Thundercats. So I was into Thundercats. I saw SilverHawks. I'm like, okay, this is cool. Now, why was I into SilverHawks? Well, because to me, if you know me once again, I'm a huge Gatchaman person. Battle of the Planets. G-Force. Not Eagle Raiders, because that was so dumb and no, not Eagle Raiders. Even though it's all the same things, they butcherized that so much. So let me just stick back. Battle of the Planets. That was my Battle of the Planets was it. So this to me was very reminiscent of Battle of the Planets, right? So 5 people, okay, they're fighting for the forces of good. Yes, they are police officers. So what happens is they're on Earth. There's a galaxy way out, in limbo. That's what it's really called. They're not even a universe, just limbo. They're out there. And they get drafted not even drafted, they volunteer to go and police limbo because there's a couple of mobsters out there. And Monstar, the main mobster, ends up escaping, and he starts running his whole gang all over the place, right? So he's really like a mafia boss, but he's tough enough as it is. And then he gets like battle armor. He changes, makes him even stronger. He has this creature. It's like a giant squid, but in armor. So he drives around in that, and so can't mess with him, right? He's like the dark side of that universe.
Yeah.
Right. So they get these 5 police officers who volunteer to go out and like Rom the Space Knight. They merge themselves to become cyborgs. Right. So their bodies are all encased mostly in metal. You see their heads. They usually have one arm that's still a human arm that's still there. There's 5 of them. So you have, you have the leader, you have the twins. The leader has Tallyhawk, which is really a hawk, a cyborg hawk, and they have one alien that's on there, a little boy, they refer to him as Kid, right? From the planet of mimes, never speaks. He just whistles or he talks with beeps, which was very reminiscent of Battle of the Planets when they called him Keop, because Keop never really spoke. He was, and it did the same thing. I'm like, okay. So seeing that I was a huge fan of one, it made it really copy paste.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right? And he was like a mathematical genius. And so this was a team, and they went all the way out to Limbo. They got into their ship, flew all the way out there. And their bodies, they're all cyborgs. They had wings that would come up, faceplates would come down, and, they had increased strength. They didn't really need to eat or sleep because they were cyborgs. They each body gave them certain powers. So it was cool. And everyone had their role. They had the archetypes pretty much covered in that. So that was it. The interesting thing, this was by a studio called Rack and Bass. So Rack and Bass Studios, of course, behind, as I said, 3 properties we mentioned before, but they've been around for years. They did the Hobbit cartoon. They did the Lord of the Rings cartoon, which almost looked like real people behind it, and that animation. They did Frosty the Snowman cartoon. They've been around since the 1960s.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yes, the stop motion Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
The one that everybody knows. Yeah.
Yeah, so, exactly. That one. That was.
We know. It's a company we know. It's a company we know.
We know, and we know their properties. And this was founded back in 1960. So this is show you from 1960, and SilverHawks was released in 1984.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, you in the business for a long time, and SilverHawks had 65 episodes. You know, they ran for, of course, 23 minutes each, and it got released. The original release date was like September 8th, like 1986, or they said it's December 5th, or in syndication. So this went on, and this had all those episodes. Great, had toys behind it. Great. I was lucky because I had a younger brother, so he had the toys. So if he had the toys, that means we had the toys. Thank you, Brian. Not to say that mom and dad bought the toys, so thank you, mom and dad, too. But, I had to spend time with my brother because I had to babysit him, play with him, and hang out with him.
There's a type of payment for that type of, task that you were put through. So your payment was to say, you know what, Brian, no problem, Brian. Bring me SilverHawks. Bring it. Yeah. And we'll just leave it.
You know how much cool stuff? Okay, when I was young, right, I got some cool toys. But then you hit the age and like, okay, fine. And I was watching the cartoons. And then, that's where me and my brother would bond. Me and my brother would because he would like a lot of the cartoons I was watching at the time. And some of them we spoke about on this channel. And Brian would watch. And then, of course, Brian was influenced by them. And he has pretty much the same copy-paste, same taste, generally speaking, on a lot of stuff that I do.
Right.
So when he was that age, he was that age. Like, what do you want for Christmas, Brian? Like, I want SilverHawks. I was like, yes. That's my brother, man. That's my little brother. I can't say little because Brian bigger than me, but that's my brother. Right? People see Brian and look at him and see me and like, okay, why'd he steal the heights? So that's my brother, man. And, when Transformers came out, Brian, what do you want for Christmas? I want Jetfire. And I was like, yes, because Jetfire was the body of a Veritech. That was Robotech. Good enough. I'm in,
Yeah. It's in the house. Is it within my four walls? Close enough.
Right? He first person you'd always come to when you get a toy. He'd rip open the package on Christmas. It's like, Barry, look what I got. It's like he like he called me Bow Wow, look what I got. And I'm like, all right, what'd you get? Oh, that's cool. Let's play with this. And then people like come over and like, man, Barry and Brian really play a lot together. They hang out all the time. It's like those two have a really good relationship. I'm like, Brian's got cool toys.
Made it inside the house. It's just a room away from me. I can live with that. Okay.
Right? Brian's toy collection right now, though, is insane. Like, you have no idea how big Brian's toy collection is right now.
Really?
What? Yo, my brother has surpassed me by far. I thought I had a lot of collectibles. Brian is Mr. Okay, and this is him, right? Brian's Mr. Two-Man. He's twofold, right? He orders 2 figures of anything he likes. He'll open one and keep one closed. Brian went and ordered, all the Justice League figures at the time.
Yeah.
That were, Bruce Timm style of art. Okay. He ordered those. He got like the rare ones. He got like Orion from the New Gods. Yeah. And Brian got 2 and he opened one and keep one closed. Brian's got the Justice League Watchtower playset still in the box. Like he bought it and said, good enough. And he put it to the side.
All right. We're done.
Brian, my brother, insane. Like you don't know. I'm telling you, when Brian older and people like, oh man, we're looking for these toys, and Brian want to say, man, I wouldn't mind selling some of this stuff. Yo, y'all got to look at my brother because y'all don't know. He got like the special edition, like Nick Fury. As I said, when it comes to mail order, Brian's got it. He don't even go to the store. He just say, oh, what's online? Done.
Wow.
Yeah, but
all right. Things to know.
You have. I'm gonna have to get next time I'm at the house.
Yeah, take a picture or something like that.
Next time I'm at the house, I will take a picture and I'll post it. Brian, I'm sure Brian ain't gonna mind anyway, so he'll just laugh and I just shake my head every time. He's like, look what I got, and I'm like, good God Almighty, where'd you get that from, man? Just look, you see, my brother's single, so he can pull away some of that stuff.
That's what I mean. Like, okay, Brian. Okay.
Yo, respect, man. But
fully.
Right,
Okay.
but back to SilverHawks. Back to So we know, as I said, there's and forgive me, I'm looking away from the camera half second. I'm looking at my notes. So you had the main team that we see here pictured behind me, right? So the first one is Quicksilver. So Quicksilver, he's the leader of the team. He was going by Captain Jonathan Quick. That was his name. He was a former head of Interplanetary Force H. Wow, like Department H. He's the field leader of the SilverHawks, known for quick reflexes, even quicker thinking. Quicksilver is an accomplished tactician and athletic. Of course, his armor is silver in color, and he's the one with the hawk there, tally hawk, and he would throw that hawk, and the hawk would tally ho. So that was cool. You had Bluegrass, who was and he's the only odd man out, right? And I guess they balanced him out. So Bluegrass was the cowboy who flew their ship, the Mirage.
Right. Because he was a master. He was basically a top-notch pilot. So
yes.
He was a top-notch pilot. Basically, yeah, like his second in command. In reality, if I was checking over some notes and I came across saying that he was he was a colonel.
Yes.
So he was already. So as odd as you would say, seeing him in the hat and looking like this guy's in the army. He's worked for us. How'd he get by? Don't worry about it. This man is someone we need out for these missions and stuff like that. So yeah,
you're right. Ace pilot, country. He Southerner. He has his guitar. He likes his country music. He always has a cowboy hat. He was the only one out of the team that didn't have wings on his costume, but he flew their ship, the Mirage. Right. So that's where it made up for it. So he had that extra firepower. His guitar would actually put out musical notes that would cause damage and stuff like sonics and all that. So he had that too. What was cool is watching this show for a couple of episodes, and he always had his cowboy hat on. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Okay. I'm getting into it. He took off the cowboy hat and he had a mohawk. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. So you was a country singer, #pilot with a mohawk? He had a metal mohawk. I'm like, oh, okay, you hitting all types of levels, and music in the future has changed.
He's gangster.
Yeah, well, it's probably better than some of the stuff we hear today. Bring me back to the 90s. Yeah. Catch Rod on Twitch. That's where you hear some good music. None of this. What?
Mumble. It's all good. Anyway, love getting into that. We get it.
Yeah, we good. Right, and then you had the twins, Steelheart and Steel Will.
Right.
So they were the two twins. So Steel Will was the muscle of the team. He's the big, powerful muscle guy, but he's also the smart guy on the team. Him and his sister were the ones that would, they helped design their spaceship. They helped any kind of technical problem. The two of them will work on it together. And I think Steel Will, even though he's the big guy on the team, he was the baby brother. I think he was born a minute or so after his sister. So they were the twins on the team. And I said they had a good brother-sister relationship. It wasn't any kind of angst and rivalry that way. The odd type of teasing, but you couldn't mess with the twins. No. They were all power. And especially when they had to fight certain people. There was one is a robot Minotaur who works for the Monstar, and Steel Will took him on one, and when you look at the size difference, it's like, oh, okay, you can hang. He can hang in the big boy department. He can throw down. And then the last person on the main team here was the Copper Kid. So he's the one from the planet of Mime. He's the young one, speaks and whistles and beeps, and he's got copper armor. He's got pale skin, so he's got a different look because he's from the planet of Mime, so he's not even human. The rest of them are all human except for him. And, he's a mathematic genius. He can solve all these problems, so it helps him with the computers and all that. And they got called out and went over to their moon base, with Stargazer. That was their captain, who was a, old school officer. He had robotics in him. He was a cyborg also, but not like the SilverHawks.
Right. So what I would say to that part, the reason why with the cybernetics is like if you go back, I was able to see a clip off the first episode. So the first episode is basically because Limbo was so far.
Yes.
The only way they can travel, a human would not have the ability to sustain the trip from Earth to Limbo. So they had to be augmented with cybernetics to be cyborg implanted in them. Now, even as a quick note with the twins, as you saw, and it's like there's a notation that during the transformation, their heart was giving them issues. Like during that
Yes.
process, their heart was like giving out, and they could have died. So the team, the professor, in a sense, who was doing the whole transformation and setting them up, said no worries, we can give them artificial hearts, and that's where at least now the name Steel Will and Steel Heart was more segmented with them having their name, because now their heart is bing, piece of steel.
Yes.
Piece of steel. So just that part, because just gets everybody comes back and sees that the kids have, or the kids, but the twins have it. And how come we didn't really mention it too quickly? Just want to put that in there, so at least it's in the official. They've heard it.
They've heard it. Yeah, exactly. And
That's
even
it.
the voice work, so pretty much a lot of the voice actors that worked on Thundercats worked on SilverHawks. So the voices are going to sound exactly the same, from Lionel and cast to, Quicksilver and cast. And so that makes a lot of things. And then the villains were cool. I like the villains. I like, Monstar. Like I can't stop saying, and the way he spells it, he doesn't even spell it monster. It's Monstar. Right? So it's like MON*STAR. Like, go on. He looked like he had like an eye patch, a big wild lion mane.
He looked like a person that you really do not want to mess with. And basically, it's one of those type of things that if you're going to go, because basically it's like a mobster. So, you don't see those videos. You've seen those movies. When the mobster, everybody know who the mobster is, and he's in the room at his table with his people. And then he gives a look to his people and say, go talk to that guy. And you realize they're talking to you. That's when you have the fear of life flash before your eyes because, oh, snap, I did something wrong. I don't remember doing anything wrong, but I did something wrong. Monstar's calling on me. Trust me, when you see Monstar, you will understand why. He was feared.
Yeah.
Good art.
Yeah, exactly. And for the villains, there was a lot of villains in there, right? So Monstar was, number one. And out of all the villains in there after Monstar, my personal favorite was Mumbo Jumbo. He was the big Minotaur who could increase his size and mass, who would fight Steel Will. Very basic guy, but I just like this look. He was like gold and yellow and pure, he just looked dangerous. He just looked like he would stomp you a new one. You understand?
Right.
So I thought he was cool in the series. But, there's a whole bunch of them. They had a full-out team they had to fight. So the picture is just the 5 of them. And they had to fight. Okay, so there's Monstar. And then there was Yes Man. He was just a sniveling little coward. There was Hardware, right? Who was like the weapons specialist, Then you had Melody. She was like a musical mistress. So her notes she would kind of have almost a love-hate relationship with Bluegrass. Like, I believe that they bonded over music, but they're on opposite sides of the coin.
Right.
Right, and this is a kid's show, so it laid some good things there, right? And then there's Windhammer, and there's Molek U R. Sorry, Molek U Lar. Lar. Buzzsaw, he was cool. Poker Face, that one was funny. Time Stopper, Zero the Memory Thief. Okay, good couple episodes. And Smiley. So these were the ones that really stuck out to me. And then Bounty Hunter, and then Uncle Rattler, Yes Man's uncle, because he's another con man thief, looked like a snake. So that they had a good rogues gallery, and I think every show you need to have a rogues gallery. If you don't have a rogues gallery and cool villains, with a cool look. It has to be, the look has to be somewhat intimidating and appealing at the same time to be memorable. That's a good thing, because you can have the best hero around, but if they have no one to fight that seems worthy to fight, the show will fall flat.
Yep. No, completely. So no. Listen, the let me try to compare it with. I will admit, Tiger Sharks um wasn't popular to me. Like I don't recall it that tough, and
I think
that'll
it was
be
like
the
8 episodes to tell you the truth, Rod, and it was
probably
mixed in
that
with
probably the
another
reason why.
couple of shows. It wasn't even like a standalone. It was just some
That's
quick shorts.
that's probably the reason why. Honestly, I don't remember it too tough. You get older, you hear about it, like okay, yeah. I remember they're part of the trio in that sense, but
Yes.
definitely Thundercats. But like you see how Thundercats are. Thundercats, I believe, and now you look at the list and you get the memory. Um, Silverhawks had a larger role gallery than Thundercats.
Initially, yeah. Yeah, I would say that.
Initially, I say initially, yeah, because you had the ability. At least maybe this is where they realized, okay, you know what? They had a certain amount with Thundercats, and then we're going to now do it with because you get kept repeating Hawk. I mean, uh, Lizard and all those ones from Thundercats. You kept repeating the same villain back and forth, so the same storyline was kind of like merged.
Yeah,
At least now you have the opportunity now to have more different ones that you can kind of play off of and just say, okay, these episodes we're going to use these three, we're going to use those five, we're going to use this two, whatever the case would be. So at least it helped stretch it out. So that's one thing that hopefully, um, if they do another Thundercats again or continue off the one they did back in 2011.
Yes. That one was fire.
Yeah. They broke into the methodology of that so well. To me, it just turned into honestly, it just turned into like a soap opera. You realize like, okay, we're done. What? Oh, man, I gotta wait.
Just when it was like it was picking up steam every episode. Yeah. So and that's a good point you brought back. So I'm not sure if I read that. I have to double check that or look in the notes.
What? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No.
So after coming back?
Well, not coming back, but the 2011 Thundercat series.
Yeah.
Right. In there was a couple of episodes where they're showing different races on the Earth in that 2011 series, and in that series they showed people underwater, which had the look of tiger sharks.
Not had the look. I'm
was
sure it was.
It was.
Sure it was.
Exactly, it was. So that if they would have continued it, I think there was talks to bring in the SilverHawks in that 2011 Thundercat because they're all in the same universe.
Exactly.
And what do we learn right now as fans? We want crossovers. If you have a property and you got the characters, cross them over. Merge.
Bring them out. Form Voltron. Do that. Just merge them together.
Merge them. I mean, so we all know they're made by the same studio. We all know the same voice actors work on multiple different of those shows, those three shows. We know that they were created to do land, air, and sea. So pretty much they formed their Navy SEAL. So we know. Just bring them together, and you teased us with Tiger Sharks in that 2011 Thundercats.
Listen, you have the components. You had the
technology.
We can build them. Next episode or previous episode, go back and watch that. So, yes. but that they had the components back then in the 80s. In the 80s, they had the components. They brought back Thundercats.
Yep.
Now there's a possibility. We've heard somewhere.
Yes.
We've read somewhere that may come back. It may come back.
They may come back. SilverHawks.
So SilverHawks may be coming back. So that's perfect. And if they come back with that, hopefully that they do it. Of course, I'm going to go to hopefully that they're going to do it in the same type of respect that they did do it justice. Do the same way like they did justice for Thundercats. That they really went into the lore of Thundercats and gave it so much body and so much depth that now you can't put back that genie back into that bottle.
No.
In that universe, it was made nice and clear. And like we said, they peppered in a tiger shark, similarities in there. So if they did that, and hopefully whoever is going to be doing the writing for that could lean off of that, get some inspiration from that, and do the SilverHawks, and then if anything, in an episode somewhere, pepper in a 3-point, throw in the little Thundercats somewhere in a corner, in a corner there. That'd be good. That would be nice. So this is something that I'm definitely looking forward to hearing. So it was actually so wild that Barry was saying that, I brought it to him to say, let's take a look and let's talk about SilverHawks, which I know we've talked about this beforehand. So it's not Barry making it sound like we've talked about it offline, like we're going to do this. I just brought it up, and it's funny. I thought about SilverHawks maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Right.
Then I mentioned to him, like, say, hey, we should do this bad boy. Let's do this. Then maybe the next day, then I heard somewhere else saying, oh, they're probably going to do SilverHawks. They're trying to bring it back. I was like, let's say that. Everything is falling into alignment.
It's like,
into alignment.
Jigga
Jigaboo.
Right. So here it is. So I did find it, right? So the planned SilverHawks reboot has a whole lot of potential. The 80s series is being rebooted by the company that produces Netflix nostalgia show, The Toys That Made Us.
Right.
The Toys That Made Us. I love that series.
I was about to say, if you haven't watched that, people, you need to take a few moments, especially if you're an old head. Not saying an old head, but a person who's nostalgic and you love the toys, and they go into depths of certain things. Like, oh, I didn't even know that, and I'm like, okay, right. You got my attentions. Here's Netflix. You got my money. Please continue.
Pay my subscription. Pay my subscription. Make it rain monthly. Make it rain monthly.
Take my money. Take my money.
Yeah.
Take my money. So yeah.
Take my money.
So if that's if it's going to definitely be in their hands, we'll see what they do with it. But it's a good thing that at least now it's now coming off the shelf and it's on someone's tables, and now they're just going over and taking a look at it. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. You know what? I would love, if Netflix is going to go that far and bring in the SilverHawks, I would love them to continue the storyline they had for Thundercats, because the Thundercats 2011 show, it dropped off when certain things about to pick up. You're dealing with, because the 2011 show never really brought in Mumra.
No.
He was coming in near the end, and then it kind of stopped. Right? So, and same thing with SilverHawks. Like, if we're keeping on target, stay on target. If we're keeping on with SilverHawks, their last show, so episode 65, was called Air Show, right? And disguising himself as the Mirage, as their spaceship, Molecular. Rex have it at the Air Show, organized by the SilverHawks to celebrate the Independence Day of the Galaxy in Limbo. So we never got a proper ending of, did they capture Monstar? What's going on? What's happening? And with that, I mean, you can find episodes of the SilverHawks here on YouTube. You can go and do that for sure. You can look it up on Wikipedia. So it's out there. You can buy the DVDs and for sale, and the toys are still around. Now, that being said, let me go back here, and I'm just going through my notes. That was the main team that we're talking about. There was a few others that they brought in at one point. They brought in another couple, and they were like, I guess they're trying to expand the team at one point. And they brought in a couple of other ones. One was able to time travel. One came from the future back to the past.
Okay.
To save them, from dying in the future, because it was like a whole future episode. So one of them was called Hot Wing. Yeah. So you had, these are the minor SilverHawks. See, Rod's face is like, say what?
I see.
Yeah. And he was a gold SilverHawk who was added mid-season. His physical features, which included, pointed ears, and he had a mixed race. He was a mixed race, but it looked like he was mixed with African-American. One nation under a groove. Oh, so that's one. Another one was called Flashback. So he was a green time traveling one, and he was in the future with Commander Stargazer, and he was telling him of the last tale of what happened and how the SilverHawks perished, and Flashback's like, I can't let that happen, and he went from his present, which is the future, came back in the past to stop them from and change the course of history. Good thing there's no TVA in that. There's another one called Moonstriker, right? A turquoise SilverHawk. And he could propel himself through space with like little cyclones, generating wind underneath them and flying. And you know, and then there was Condor, which was an older one who was a friend of a Stargazer, just called him Gaze. And so these were some of the lesser characters that came in. They were trying to bolster the team. So I like this because they're almost making the SilverHawks. I mean, if they are police officers patrolling Limbo,
should be more.
There should be more. It should be like the Green Lantern Corps. It should be. There's possibilities to send more backup. You know, sometimes people need a vacation, need a break.
Yeah. Can I take a weekend off? No. Damn.
Well, it's only you, so we can't do anybody else. So this is cool. And I mean, of course, this is also what you could see to add more toys to the line, and it's fine if you have 5 and you're adding another couple of months in there. I like that they were conscious of saying, hey, let's bring in, you know, an African American one. Not every hero has to be a certain color. You know, I think they could have expanded that to get a little bit more diversity with the secondary characters or even the main characters. Right? It's not too late to go back and do that if you're doing a reboot. I know. With everything going on, they're trying to be more inclusive of the nature. So sometimes it might change the original look of the property. But hey, there's not one color that's on this earth. So let's try to represent it a little bit more.
Well, you're saying a good point. Like, you know, the possibility, even, you know, if you look at the original crew and everything like that, you know, still the person who may be, you know, is obvious, who is not from Earth, you know, maybe they might change his tone color to be a little bit more copper. Although his armor is copper skin, maybe they might make his features and face a little bit more copper. So who knows? Who knows? You know, now that you bring that up, that kind of point up, it's like, that's not a bad idea to think from then. But maybe who knows? They may do that. Who knows?
Absolutely. You know, and my thing is this. I so clearly you can tell we love the toys, and if you've seen our Facebook page, you've seen stuff we've posted on there, and, you know, and which is great. And I like when the properties come back. I like when they make cool toys that would go with those properties. But because the sales are not going good with the toys, don't cut the show.
Right.
You know, and that's where a lot of things fall flat. So, and even then when you're looking at it, I think try to make toys that are more appropriate to the property. Meaning, right, if you make a toy figure, like the figure himself, too big, the play set cannot compromise everything you want to do.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's you know, that's again, if you watch the toys that made us,
yes,
these type of conversations are in there, where they start talking about having the toy figures, the figurines, at different sizes, and they're realizing, oh, we kind of didn't think ahead of the game at that point. So hopefully, you know, nowadays they're taking certain things like that in consideration, you know, learn from the past and that kind of scenario and so forth. But you know what? I mean, for Thundercats, as much as, so here I understand, as much as I honestly, I was surprised when they canceled Thundercats. And here's my personal opinion why.
Go for it. Because
I could see, and this is where I'll say this for a possibility for SilverHawks, that the story that you're trying to create is not meant for young children. If we want it to be similar, if you want SilverHawks to be very similar to Thundercats, now Thundercats was very, very adolescent, what is it, like late teens, you know, adult type of, you know,
I would say early teens, late teens. Yeah, I can see that.
Well,
PG-13, you 12, you know, 11 to 30. Right. So you know,
on certain things.
You're not looking at 3-year-olds, 6-year-olds. No. I'm looking, you know, 10 and up. Here we go.
Right.
10 and up.
And then at that point, you know, teenagers of that age, of that time, of this time now, they're not really into purchasing any, you know, figurines or anything like that. So this is why as soon as I saw it and I got good and it was getting great and building up, and when they cut it and they said it's because of sales, I was like, yeah. And that's why you notice afterwards they start making Thundercats Roar, which was now drop down.
Yeah.
The same thing they did with Teen Titans when they had to drop down Teen Titans Go.
Yeah.
And then dropped it back down.
Yeah.
It was, you know, I understand the business, that's what you got to do, but it was like, it's painful. So now if we're doing SilverHawks, now that because it's going to be a Netflix venture, this is where the dice will be different. We're playing with a different pair of dice now.
Yeah, absolutely, because it won't depend on the toy sales. Now, this is why I hope they bring it, because, and that's what the good thing about Netflix is. It saves a lot of shows, like shows that get canceled, like Lucifer. They say, "Oh, we'll take it on," and it does really well for them, right? And then they can actually go a certain way, because since they're a streaming service, they don't have to go to the same way as how TV and censorship is on certain things, without losing the actors, actresses, the history, the writers of the show. They keep the same theme and say, "Hey, we don't have to worry about being so PG. We can be a little bit more darker at times." Right. That being said, so I know the toys made us. I mean, everyone remembers the original Star Wars toys by Kenner. Right. Those toys at the time were 3/4 inch size, right? And that line, that toy size stays up to now. That works for a lot of figures, especially what they did back then with G.I. Joe was smart. But people think it was G.I. Joe, and if you watch the toys that made us, and this is something I knew before, this was started by Fisher Price. Fisher Price, the company, they had a whole line called Adventure People, and they were all that size, well detailed. I had a lot of these sets as a kid. We got to talk about this at one point, because I was a huge Fisher Price fan, and all the different play sets. And because the figures were detailed, and had 4 points of articulation on them, so it might have seemed basic, but the figures look nice. When I say the play sets, the Jeeps, the vans, the planes, the spaceship, helicopters, all the stuff that the figures would go into could be made a certain way, not being overly big, that made it a lot more interactive. So if you have a figure that's 8 inches tall, how do you make, the toys for SilverHawks were a larger size. So when you made the Mirage, you couldn't make out the full Mirage that would hold all of them, because this thing was huge. So they had to, the proportions were always a little bit off, right? When you're in this Mirage, they would sit down, Bluegrass would sit down, he'd pull the canopy over, and he'd be able to there, and he's all closed in. The other ones would lie down, 2 on each side in the wings, lie down, close the canopy. Okay, they open it up and launches them. Okay, cool, it separates. But because the figures were so big, they couldn't make the Mirage appropriate size, like how you want to see it. I would say, let's go down, save the oil, make them that 3/4 inch size. Then you can make the playset. You can make the Mirage. You can give them Stargazer base. You can give them Monstar's throne room, and have things interact that way, right? Because it would be more cost effective and it's more accessible. When the figure is too big, as great as it looks, right now the price point would be too expensive, for casual fans, hardcore fans, it'd be too expensive to produce it the way we would like to see it done. I mean, if you look at Fisher Price Adventure People, the G.I. Joe, when they came back out, G.I. Joe went from 12 inches to 3 3/4 inches. The 12-inch one was phenomenal. I had that one as a kid, but I also had the Jeep, and I had the G.I. Joe kite that he would actually sit in and fly in this swamp buggy. And so I had those, and they were a lot of fun to play with. They were durable. They lasted. But at the same time, if you had to do that same size now, a figure that you would have bought and paid maybe $20, and they're like, oh man, that's a lot back then. I mean, sorry, the play set should say, or one of the accessories I should say. Now that would run you about $70. And the generation's gone all digital. So for me, toy wise, make it at 3 3/4. Make some nice play sets that are cool. If you want something to aim more for adult fans, then once again, like Sideshow Collectibles or anything along those lines, make some cool bust and costumes, statues that you can have out there for the hardcore collectors. Really put the detail in it. Let them buy it that way. And then for the balance of it, it just, that would, make a cool video game. Gotta make a video game. Yeah. And it needs a comic book. It definitely needs, Thundercats had a great comic book with was it Image Comics, I think, or the Top Cow or whatever. It was doing a great work with the Thundercats comic, and then it was like Thundercats crossing over with Gatchaman, Battle of the Planets.
Right.
So close. So I think we can turn around and definitely get a comic book once again with all 3 properties together. Separately, let them do a crossover. Keep going. I'm all in. It's like right now, as saying goes, you do it right, take my money.
Yeah, no, completely. Listen, it's I'm happy for one. hearing that someone is interested in an IP now to bring it back shows that the interest is there. They recognize that there's a that the interest is there by those who were during that time frame of that age. Now they're full grown and realizing that, hey, we can now still generate, not saying income in that sense, but we can generate interest back with those who were there originally, the 20, 30 years ago, plus as well now start building a new wave of fan base by bringing this up for a next generation to be pulling up on that. So definitely, I'm happy to hear that. Again, who knows if this is kind of a spawn off of what we've heard with Massive Universe of Revelation, because now that's coming out. That's technically, let me see something called up a date. If
Is it like July or August?
It's July, and if I understand right, we have 6 days next Friday.
Okay, so by the time this particular episode airs, He-Man's already gonna come out. We'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that definitely. But the fact is that definitely because the people start to hear that this is coming out, and I'm sure that other properties are now seeing that. Yeah, He-Man and Master Universe. Yeah, whatever the case would be. But realizing everybody's rumbling about He-Man. Really? Bobby, get back to the files. What property do we have back around at the same time? I don't know, boss. You spending this weekend. Go find them. Bobby's pulling up decks and paper and finding stuff. Tiger Sharks. I don't know about that. We think Thunder. SilverHawks. Oh, boss, use this. That to me is what happened, because they're starting to see the rumbles. And I will make this immediate joke right now. God forgive me to make it sound like this, and
go for it.
Both companies, one is going to laugh, the other company will be shredded their laugh. Be upset. But reality, you put it on yourself. This company doesn't want to be the next DC versus Marvel. When Marvel was setting up all their stuff and setting up all their Marvel MCU, or setting it up properly from the beginning,
yes,
DC always had an opportunity to continue in that same flavor, and they just chose to think, oh, what you guys are doing makes no sense. We're not going to do that. And then 10 years later, when they're realizing, by now, there's enough rumble into realizing that the MCU is building very well and is leading up to something. DC still had time, and they chose to assume it's just a fade. They'll let go. No one's going to jump on it. Foolish mortal. MCU is where it is now. DC is struggling just to try to catch up. So if anybody is paying attention on the outside of this, hearing all the rumble among themselves, like, they're in their own, restaurants and having their own business meeting. And the next day we're talking about the DC war, the DC and MC war, DC and MCU war. And people are like, what's going on? You're realizing that DC dropped the ball. These people cannot drop the ball.
No. You
have an opportunity now to do things right, bring back an old IP, and be able to. It's not old. It's not new anymore. You understand? Someone has done something similar. Not saying they cracked the code, but they have a better understanding of the code versus anybody else.
Build it and they will come.
You will see. You're seeing people are coming out in droves for this.
Yeah, man.
Don't drop the ball. Don't drop the ball.
Thank you. That's exactly what it is, man. You don't drop the ball. Right?
Listen, we can even say even Thundercats. Thundercats came out, and you can see this again is another thing. If you thought that might have been a fade, unfortunately, you may have cut the cord too early. But if you listen to the pulse, you realize that people still love that version, that 2011 version, and would have no problem if you were to say we're going to rehash that or continue. Life is good.
Absolutely. And as fans, we can make some noise about that, right? So, and this is what I'm going to say. You're right. Don't drop the ball. The Thundercats, the original run, the 2011 run, SilverHawks, right? All 65 episodes. Tiger Shark, 8, 12 episodes, whatever. Okay. Those properties never had an ending.
Yeah.
See, so what? Right. So what Kevin Hart's doing? Like when I say they never had an ending, yeah, it was the last episode, but there was no ending. There was no closure.
The story,
As a fan, you get embraced with it. You followed it, and there was no ending. There was no. We got origin stories. We got conflicts. We've got romance. We got internal conflict. Got all that. How'd it play out?
You see, go ahead.
So with He-Man, what Kevin Smith has done, he said, okay, all the stuff that happened in He-Man, the original series, my He-Man Revelation series is going to give an ending to the series, a proper ending, because it never got an ending. So he's not changing. He's not reinventing the wheel. He's just saying, well, from the last episode to where my characters are now, I'm going to give him what happened. Because everyone's like, yeah, He-Man. Okay, it's off the air. Did He-Man win? And even the last series, same thing. So don't have to reboot to reinvent. You just have to start to give it a good ending.
So listen, I'm gonna say my opinion again.
Go ahead.
The Rod Sea.
Bum, bum, bum.
Back in those days, if you really think about it, to my recollection, as much as cartoons was a nice venture and it was a way for them to make profit, whatever the case would be, it was always, I took it, when you get old and you look back, it would look to be get in, get out, get your money, get out, get in, get your money, get out, get in, get your money, get out. So there was never, they just didn't think or care that, or didn't think anybody cared that there was no ending. And that's the thing. But again, at the time, you're focusing on children, 5 to 10 to 15, whatever the case to be.
We get older.
They age, right. But they're not thinking about that. Again, they're not thinking that there was a need, because if you look at it, I'm going to try to be logical or halfway logical. At that time, whoever's doing that, they themselves must have been 30s or 40s. So they now have to think back to their time of the Flintstones, the Jetsons, that type of, or the Howdy Doodies, or whatever the case to be. When the show's done, They're just like, the show's done. And they just took it as, okay, the show's done. Never felt that they needed an ending. We now, at this generation, we want stories. We want, you've basically given us, you've given us something that was basically, it was a part of us, and you realize, like, you know what? I can now imagine this, because if you really want to look at it that way, a book, when you read a book, people read books, they use imagination. But because the book has an ending, a beginning, a middle, and an end, you can imagine straight to the end, even with your imagination. Cartoons are basically the living representation of a story, and the problem is you just had beginning, middle, and you just cut them off. You never gave the book an end.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. So that's really what it is. People are looking for an end of their novel, their stories, their childhood stories. We just want an ending. Give me an ending. Give me an ending. And then when you die with laughter, when you try to give an ending and you realize, like, wow, this is still good. And people are still going like, hold that ending, Bobby. Hold that ending. Hold that ending. Hold it. Let's go on a couple more stories. Let's squeeze it out. Let's squeeze it out. Well,
that's it. Because the people who would write that story now are fans who watched that show back then. And they can imagine an ending. And I'm sure they can write an ending that people would all enjoy and jump on board with. So that was a problem. I mean, Galaxy Rangers didn't have a proper ending, right? The three properties we talked about didn't have a proper ending. He-Man didn't have a proper ending.
I don't think none. I don't think any. That's what I'm saying. No, I don't believe any cartoon
Thundar that we talked about didn't have an ending.
No cartoons in the 80s was ever given an ending, because it was never not deemed, but it was never thought like, these are kids, we're just going to cut it and walk away. And they never thought it to have an ending. So I don't think there's any cartoons that has an ending.
Well, it depends.
I don't think so.
It depends. So very rare, though. Very rare.
It has to be very rare. I'm sure there is, but it's very rare. But I don't think so.
And I can tell you, like, for example, the one we talked about a little while ago, Grandizer had a proper ending.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah, that series had a proper ending.
Okay.
But I said one of the few, but and it's funny. I'll say this. It's more the anime that comes from overseas that give their characters a full arc. So if I have to think North American,
Right.
No ending. No ending. No.
And that's
the only cartoon that I can think of that had people with a proper ending was the Jackie Chan Adventures. That cartoon.
I see. No. See, but
if you watch all Jackie Chan cartoons, he does get an official ending for that series.
Right, but go back to what you just said.
Yeah,
although
Jackie
was made, although it was Jackie Chan, maybe movie made, animated was made here, it was based from there on
Asian influence,
and they're gonna say we have to have an ending as much as possible. You're gonna have to have some type of ending. So that's what I'm thinking. Well, the ending, because at least they did the ending, at least for the storyline. It's funny enough you brought it up because I just came across that about a month or so ago, and we just talked about that, or maybe you and I were talking about it. I think that's the reason why I was looking for it.
Right.
And I think by the time it came to the end of season 2 is when they finished the story arc of the Talisman.
Yeah.
But they still had another, but they continued on.
Yes.
But they finished the story arc of that story. They finished it off.
Jackie, one more thing.
Uncle.
One more season. Uncle. Yeah, you're right. So you're right. And it goes back because if I have to think about it.
Yeah, if you go to North American ones,
they never gave the characters an ending. They just kind of said, pull the plug. And it's the same thing with TV, live action TV, right? Like even your comedies and all that, they don't give them an ending. Oh, ratings are dropping. Cut. It's very few of them that got an ending. They write that in their contract. So if you look at Sons of Anarchy, it gave them an ending. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air gave them an ending. But as I said, SilverHawks, Tiger Sharks, Thundercats, no ending. He-Man, no ending. I was almost going to, and I caught myself, and it's true because even Voltron, the original one, had an ending. Original? But once again, anime. It wasn't North American. It wasn't North American storytelling.
And it's funny you brought that up, but I was thinking about earlier when we were talking about at least shows that they were on Netflix. Voltron's on Netflix, and it did very well. So that's another a reboot that was done that they went into that storyline very well.
Yeah. So my only thing with that is I wanted them to bring in Vehicle Voltron. They always deal with the line Voltron, but they never deal with Vehicle Voltron, and that had its own long standing things. And Pidge from Voltron, his brother or sister was on the Vehicle Voltron kind of thing, and that's how they kind of brought that in, but they never covered it. That was my only thing. But beyond that, sorry, I digress. You're right. So but even the original animated show of Voltron gave them an ending. But once again, that was anime. North America, we started, we put all the hype behind it, and then we pull the plug. And you leave people out there going, what? And then they wonder, how come people in North America don't finish anything? Well, the kids can't finish anything because you never showed us a finish.
Well, you see, it's now making me recollect to another Netflix show. I can't recall off the top of my head. I don't know if it is the Toys That Made Us, another seasonal episode one, or video games. But they were talking about.
Well, I know the games that made us, the movies that made us, right?
But yeah, but there was another one that was. There was like I think it was still the Toys That Made Us, and they were talking about Suban with the Power Rangers.
Yes,
and all that. Saban, right? And how an uphill battle they were going just to bring it on the market over here, because the market here was not accustomed to that type of, not
action,
even say anime, but action violence on TV, but just just robots or samurais, just ninjas running. Like what are you doing? So I can clearly, when I saw that, it helped me answer, like, I can probably see another reason why they cut the cord quick, because they're realizing no one's gravitating as quick as they want. They cut the cord.
Yeah,
cut the cord. And that's the thing. Not realizing they've planted so many seeds. Now this thing is sprouting out like crazy.
Yeah, well, that's it. Look, I mentioned we're just talking about the characters real quick, and we'll wrap this up shortly. We're talking about the characters quick, and we're saying, hey, look, at SilverHawks, there was one character that came from the future, back to the past, to save them from a disaster. He changed history.
Right.
for them. Like, he changed his own history in the future. So what happened in the future when he made that deviant timeline? And we all hear about timelines now. This was back in 1986 where time travel was all over the rage, and it still is right now, presently speaking.
Right.
He changed the timeline, right? That there is warranted into repercussions. That's my worry. That's the repercussion. So the repercussions from that action, that's storylines that should be done, right? You skipped all that. Did they actually finish and capture Monstar? Did they go back to Earth? Did they get back their human bodies? Do they retire? Do they get? If you watch the original series, you could say what happened and why all the way out in limbo. You know what I mean? Because they left Earth to go to limbo. So what's the trade agreement there? There's so much political stuff that can add into the beef this up even more.
Easily. With today's type of writing and building a greater backstory, like you're talking about, why it was, limbo, and why didn't they just carry it on about time travel? That time travel, although time travel was known, there was no one worrying about the repercussions. The repercussions was, it happened. We're not focusing on that. We're focused on wherever this character is. This character went back. Whatever happened during his time back then, that's the new future. We don't care what happened. It never happened. It just disappeared. No, as we're now learning by time travel. No. That's a variant. That's a line that still continues.
Well, that's it. What happens with Commander Stargazer, right? Does he still keep living? Does he disappear? Does something happen to him? Does Quicksilver take over that new role? Do they bring in a new team? And I said, what happens to go back to Earth? So the Earth they come from, they say it's Earth. We know Thundercats are on third Earth. So does that means there's another Earth circling around at the same time on the other side? Okay, come on.
Right.
So that's where a lot of stuff can come into that they can play on. I think if they do this reboot right, not have to reinvent the wheel. Let's just pick up some key elements from these stories, can go on, give us an ending, and it doesn't have to be a full out another 65 episodes. We don't want 65 episodes. Give me a season, or do it like how they did Voltron. Give it, 8 episodes a season, make it good. Say we're going to do 3 seasons, we're wrapping it up 2 seasons, we're wrapping up with X amount of episodes, and all right, and this way it'll just be like intense. Pop, 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 pop. We're done. Cool. And then someone get as you put it, 5 across the face, boom, done. Monstar is out. Quicksilver's going off. What happened to your arm, Quicksilver? Well, there was a tail. And all right, what happens in the future? SilverHawks Academy. Okay.
That's it.
Like the Green Lantern, and then expand from Limbo. But so much to go on that. That's my thought. Rod, what's your final thoughts on this?
Well, my final thoughts is that SilverHawks it's a childhood memory. It's something that a lot of people do know what SilverHawks. They know of it. They may not remember it as tough as Thundercats, but a lot of people do know SilverHawks once you start bringing it, to the recollection. So I think a lot of people are going to like this episode that we're talking about and have some good nostalgic memories on it. And definitely, you guys, if you hear something, or even if you remember something we might have missed, or you just want to emphasize on, please make sure you hit it in the chat. Just type it in the chat. Just let us know, and you definitely will check that out. But I mean, listen, it's a great property. A lot of people will remember it. I remembered it. I loved it, and hearing that the opportunity. We always say we wish these things would come back. We wish these things would come back. Well, someone beat us before we even got a chance to say it. Touche. Point you. So you get your points. Very nice. So we definitely want to see this back up, seeing like it's coming down the pipeline. I hope it still goes through and there's no problems, nothing drops the ball on that. And I'm not too worried about the writers, because now the writers, who knows who's writing?
Yep.
I'm just like, writers, don't drop the ball. You have enough mindset to see. We'll say for right now, there's 2 properties that's come back from the fatal past and is doing well. Voltron and Thundercats, the one from 2011. Both had great writing, that they were in depth and they did very well. So it's not like you're like saying we're gonna be the first one and we don't know what we're gonna do. How are we gonna do this? Maybe we should go really intense, or maybe we'll just do scratch the surface. Those other properties, they went in, they went deep, they went across. They just built a whole new world where you're like saying, it all makes sense now. Let's go. So if that's the case, that's your mission. You have no choice but to accept it. Since you signed off saying you're doing the storyline, do it. Just it.
Very true. Very true. I agree with you, Rod. As I said, I want to see it come back. Let's okay on Netflix. Everything that Rod said, I support 100%. I would still like to see some of the toy figures come back as a special collecting edition, and not statues, but toy figures. Go on, Rod.
Right. And on that note, in the little quick research we did, we found out that they're saying that they're looking to do action figures, basically toy figures should be coming up by the end of this year. So if that's the case, you normally mean that if they're doing toy figures, that means a little something is coming, then a little something right after. So if the toy figures are supposed to be hitting sometime by the end of the year, we can feel that something should be coming early next year. So we'll see how that works out. So go again.
Yes. Remember us on the Christmas list. So I agree with all those points. As I said, statue, let's get some cool statues made of these characters and put them out there. If they're not out there, I really think the whole team needs to be represented, the original team for sure. Let's start with that. Toy figures, yeah, let's do a special collecting edition. Keep in mind the size, so this way we can get cool play sets with it and collectibles. Some nice art. And we want some nice art on the boxes too. As I said, you can find it here on YouTube, Amazon. You can always find these episodes somewhere. They're out there. They ain't that hard to find. Tubi, whatever. I will say this, we do a lot of polls right now. So this is something we started. We really want this, and we're talking to you guys, the fans. I'm really talking to you guys that supported us, and I thank you so much. So remember, if you're in the position to help the channel grow, then, click on that link on a Ko-fi link and, donate and help us kind of grow this channel, grow with us, get those numbers up, share it with everybody. And we are doing, as I said, we're doing polls. So I put up a bunch of polls. By the time this video is out, we have a whole bunch up at this point. So we started off with the Star Jammers. I'm going to talk about those, who people voted for. Me and Rod, we had our picks between who we'd like to play for the main Star Jammers, right? From Corsair, Hepzibah, Raza, and Chode. And I'm going to put up who won, and then check our Facebook page. So below, you'll see the links to our Facebook page. Please join it. Please click the notification button with this. Check out our Instagram, check out our Twitter. We keeping as active as possible, posting, reposting stuff that we find that we might be interesting along these lines.
Subscribe and share. Ooh,
that
subscribe and share.
Subscribe and share. That one click does a lot for us to give us, to reach more. And then look in their discussions tab on YouTube. So you probably won't see it on your app, but if you're on your computer, you see the discussions. We have little things there and all our social media. So definitely gonna make sure we add on Rod's Twitch and where you can find it. So sometimes it's not about comics, it's about music, and that's beautiful. That is a great thing. So I'll say this, please like, subscribe, share. This helps us so much more. A little bit, every click helps us even more and more. Share the video with people you think would be interested in the video. This whole world was started with a pencil, a piece of paper, and imagination. Keep on dreaming. Thank you very much. We're out. Tally ho!
My wing got hurt. Happy place.
Good night, everybody. Iconus Podcast.